In this video, I'm going to be showing why I am a complete hypocrite based on my very own crypto investing strategy, which wouldn't be so bad, but it was defined by myself. I will also be discussing why I'm both bullish and bearish on the fact that crypto.com are advertising so much at the moment, and why it actually might create a further 10x plus for its native token CRO. Then lastly, I want to share what I believe is one of the best indicators of when to buy into crypto if you haven't already. And then of course, I'll be sharing how my very own crypto.com portfolio has done over the last 2 months. And what a ride it's been. So why am I such a hypocrite? Well, to understand this, let me quickly remind you of what my very own crypto strategy is to maximize gains and to minimize risk. The thesis is that I personally believe that history is repeating itself. The majority of my viewers right now, you'll probably have been under the age of 10 for the dot-com bubble, just like I was. But as a brief summary, everyone in the 1990s was saying that today's equivalent of to the moon when it came to the internet.
AOL.
Valuations of any companies to do with the internet were going ballistic, and that's even if they didn't have any revenue at all. Our views of the dot-com bubble will likely be extremely biased and full of survivorship bias at that, as we can only remember the winners, the Amazons, the Apples, and the eBays, but we can't remember the thousands of other companies that went bust. Have you ever heard of theglobe.com, pets.com, or webvan.com? Well, if you haven't, these companies had a combined market cap of 1.4 billion at one point before ultimately going bust. If you replace the word internet with blockchain, then you have very much the same situation today. My only real disclaimer here is that actually we know now that the internet worked out as a booming industry. We do not have such a guarantee with blockchain technology. Blockchain technology could lose out to another technology down the road, a bit like how HD DVD lost out to Blu-ray in the high definition disc format wars between 2006 and 2008. Based on how I view the crypto market and how it mirrors the dot-com bubble, I've created a very simple 2-point strategy. Number 1, allocate a minimum of 2% of my total investment capital into crypto with the view that it could go hyperbolic or it could go to zero. If it naturally goes above 2%, then leave it. It's all about getting exposure without increasing the risk too much. And 2, don't fool yourself into thinking you can pick the winners in this space. You want to be maximizing exposure while reducing risk. So for me, that's holding an allocation of the top 30 cryptocurrencies by market cap, which is weighted appropriately. It's really as simple as that, but feel free to rip me in the comment section below, and the first person to mention the Sharpe ratio loses. But in my defense with my strategy, it's worked so far. And then this comes to why I'm being a hypocrite. Let me roll a short clip from my June episode, giving my thoughts on SHIB Inu. I've got to say, I'm not one for picking cryptocurrencies, but I just felt that the £500 worth of CRO that I had in the Supercharger event was better used elsewhere. So rule 2 of my 2-point strategy is do not fool yourself into thinking you can pick the winners. And what did I do? I purposely tried to avoid SHIB. And obviously since then, SHIB has gone to the moon. There you go, a small lesson learned and a small slap on the wrist from myself. If you don't use crypto.com, then you might not be aware of a great feature which passively gains you exposure to the altcoin market without having to look at it at all. It's called Supercharger, and all you need to do to take part is just to stake some of your CRO. And basically it gets allocated to quite a lot of different liquidity mining pools. From taking part so far, I've gained exposure to other altcoins like Engine Coin, Boson Protocol, SHIB, and Affinity. If you want some CRO to take part, then if you use my link in the description below, you'll actually get $25 of free CRO just for creating an account. And of the 50 or so people who have signed up with my link over the last 4 months will likely now have $100 of CRO, as it's performed a 4x in just the last few weeks. But you might be questioning, why has CRO performed a 4x so recently? Well, based on the following, I think you could easily argue it might do a further 10x in the next 6 to 12 months. Or I guess it could go bust, but let me explain. You will have to have been living under a rock if you haven't seen any of the marketing that Crypto.com has been doing over the last few months. They're now sponsoring Formula 1, the UFC, the 46ers, PSG, and to top it all off, they've recently revealed their new spokesperson, Matt Damon.
Whispered by the intrepid since the time of the Romans. Fortune favors the brave.
If you're a current user of Crypto.com, then you should be both concerned and excited about this. The concern is that all this sponsorship will have cost hundreds of millions and will continue to cost more in the future. And this money has to come from somewhere, and this somewhere is from the users on its platform. So if you're a trader, then you're likely going to have a tough time. But if I'm honest, your options aren't great elsewhere. Places like FTX are now spending 210 million sponsoring the esports organization TSM, or Team Solo Mid. And then platforms like Coinbase are now sponsoring the NBA, but haven't disclosed how much they're paying, but it will be a small fortune. I'd say we'll likely be seeing more of this over the next few years as more and more people start to adopt crypto. But that's the doom and gloom. Why should you be excited if you're using crypto.com already? The first is that there's going to be a larger demand for crypto.com's native token, CRO. And when demand goes up and supply stays the same, prices tend to go up. CRO has performed a 4x in just the last few weeks, and it's still 1/10 the market cap of Binance's native token, BNB. To give you a steer on how Binance compares to Crypto.com, Binance have 30 million users, and Crypto.com hit 10 million users back in February, but it is worth noting they're aiming to hit 100 million users by 2023. Based on this, I think you could easily see how CRO could perform a 10x to match the market cap of BNB. But then again, I could be wrong. If you want to build your CRO passively without actually having to spend a penny, then Crypto.com do offer Visa-backed debit cards where you can get rebates of up to 8%. They do an entry-level card for 1% where you've got to have no investment down, but then they do have the Ruby Red card if you stake £300 worth of CRO, which actually some of my patrons highly recommend. A bit of a shout out to you, Rob. The second reason you might want to be excited is that when the platform gets bigger, costs can naturally come down. Again, it could go all down the drain if their marketing costs skyrocket and they don't deliver the growth needed to support it. Before I get into the update on how my account is getting on, let me share with you what I believe is a hidden indicator of when might be the best time to buy into crypto. After all, we all start somewhere, and when the market shifts up and down so quickly, it's hard to know when the best entry point is. But I have noticed something incredibly interesting when I look at the amount of referrals I'm getting through on the Crypto.com app. There is actually an obvious trend that people tend to sign up to the app when the markets jump up a lot. And on the flip side, when the market seems to be a bit lower, I get virtually no referrals at all. This might sound like I'm advocating for buying the dip, which is close, but not quite true. I believe that the fear of missing out is the biggest reason for people getting into crypto in the first place, and it's a sentiment that I don't fully disagree with, as I think it's right to have a small amount of exposure to crypto personally. Because realistically, who wouldn't want to have a slice of a groundbreaking new technology which could repeat the gains seen in the tech bubble? A bit like how you could have owned Amazon in 2001, which since has grown by 41,300% in value. FOMO increases when there's lots of news about crypto, and this can be seen as clear as day in Google Trends. Here's the search volumes of the word crypto over the past 5 years. For me, I can see a clear correlation between the movement in the price of crypto and the volume of searches for the term crypto. You can see clearly the bull run of 2018 and then the bull run of 2021. What I'm trying to say is, if you're feeling extremely itchy about getting into crypto, then it's worth checking this chart first. Are you only interested as it's the only thing you're seeing in the media at the moment? Or are you thinking rationally? In my opinion, you're better off buying into the market when the media cycle has died down when it comes to crypto, just so you're not biased and jumping in just because you're feeling a strong sense of FOMO. I have my very own rationale and logic behind my crypto strategy, and equally you should have your very own. Even if it's that you don't believe in crypto at all and you won't be touching it. It's worth highlighting with this same logic, it looks like it's actually not a bad time to buy Bitcoin if you're looking at Google Trends. But who knows? All I can say is that this isn't financial advice, it's just my thoughts. You have to do what's right for you. So, how has my Crypto.com portfolio done over the last 2 months? Well, for anybody new, I started out in March this year with £2,000, which I spread across the top 20 cryptocurrencies, which has now grown over time to around 35 for multiple reasons, including Supercharger. To say the least, it's been a massive rollercoaster so far. I've peaked at £5,000 just in September, and then have reached record lows back in July this year at just £1,900. Before I reveal my account portfolio, please be aware that I've received $2,400 worth of CRO from referrals, meaning that around £1,750 of my portfolio is not market gains. But even considering this, my portfolio has now boomed over the last 2 months. My current portfolio stands at £7,375, with my top 5 holdings being CRO, Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and Binance Coin. This means that my initial investment of just £2,000 has grown to £6,000, which is a solid 3x in just 8 months. If only my Vanguard account could have done that as well. In terms of what's been driving my account, then the vast majority has been CRO. If you look at the price graph, then you'll see it's been floating around 7 to 9p over the last several months, but then it went vertical at the end of October, jumping from 14p to over 30p in less than 2 weeks. This meant alone I gained £1,000 in just CRO. Based on this extreme growth, I took the decision to finally start fixing a long-standing issue with my portfolio allocation, and that was my woeful weighting to Bitcoin, which made up less than 5% of my total portfolio, even though it takes up more than 40% of the total crypto market cap. I wasn't able to move as much as I really wanted into Bitcoin, as I've got 5,000 CRO currently locked into my crypto earn feature, earning me 6% per year. But this will unlock from its staking period in just 19 days, which after that I can do whatever I want with it. But luckily I had around £500 worth of CRO in my supercharger, which I could move instantly into Bitcoin. My Bitcoin allocation is still a little bit too low now at 14%, and ideally I'd want that to be double to around 30%, but I'm in no rush to get there. I will likely move another £500 into Bitcoin from CRO once it comes out of its crypto earn time. Outside of that, I would like to increase my holding of XRP, as it's far below its weighting as compared to its actual market cap, but I also want to top up a little bit more Cardano and a little bit more Ethereum. But saying all that, I'm really happy I made the choice to gain exposure to lots of different cryptocurrencies to start off with. What started as a 2% allocation just to crypto has now already swelled up to being 10% of my total investments. And based on this, I'm not looking to add any more of my own money anytime soon. In the meantime, I'm just going to kick back, relax, and then see if Bitcoin can really hit the milestone of $100,000 before the end of the year. If you're interested in where I actually invest the rest of my money outside of crypto, then feel free to click this video on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.